Hello everyone and welcome to, this must be day 7 of the 30-day cocooned at home wellness retreat. So today, as you would have gathered from the earlier post, I'm actually going to be talking about nutrition. First things first, I can't tell you what to eat or how to eat. Your choices are actually your choices. You eat the way you eat because of your upbringing. So a lot of the times you will eat certain ways because of it's the way that you were taught and it's the way that your parents eat. So for instance, if your parents are heavy meat eaters, there's a good chance that you're going to be a heavy meat eater. If they don't drink water, chances are you're not going to drink water. If they were someone who exercises a lot, chances are you're most likely to follow that path and exercise a lot. So we become a product of our environment. It's also how much you value your health will determine how you eat as well. What I found really interesting was I was involved with Gary Fettke's first group, Fat Busters, run by Rob Fairs and LAFM. So hi Joe, I know you're in here. When I did a values exercise with the group, a number of them had a very low values level for health. And it's really hard to stick with healthy habits if health's something that you don't actually value. So you need to look at where your priorities are. So if your health is a challenge now, you certainly need to make it a bigger priority than, and most cases you will. If you're challenged with your health, it's going to be a big priority. For me, it's always been a massive priority ever since I was younger. Sometimes it can be circumstantial, like if you're in a partnership, you sometimes can eat according to your partner more so than how you want to eat, particularly if whoever the strongest person is. Sometimes you can get into a situation where they don't like your food. If you're the main cooker, they may not like your food, so you've got to turn around and try to cook and prepare food that they do like, and then that over time can actually change how you eat. Also, it can be through financial issues, so you'll go for whatever's the cheapest. Just be a little bit careful with this. You're better off to eat less and eat better quality than to eat more of just cheap stuff, because you're going to pay for it dearly in the end. Another good thing is to grow your own. It's much cheaper than anything else. And it gets you out in the garden, gets you out in the fresh air, so you're getting exercise, but also it's a really good feel good thing to do with the kids. Sometimes you may be at home, you may be away a lot, which means that your food choices are limited according to whatever you can get away in takeaways and things like that. And sometimes you can eat on the run because of work situations. Like I know a lot of my clients have a tendency to drive around the state, so sometimes they'll just grab things and eat as they're driving along. Much better to sit, relax and enjoy. So I'm going to unpack food slowly over the next few days. But the number one thing I want you to get out of it is that food is medicine. You shouldn't see it as something that it's just something you do. It's really, really important for your ongoing health. And I'd like, if I do anything, I'd like to at least have you coming out thinking about your food a little bit differently than what you do now. So to give you a little bit of a background around my food, I grew up on an organic farm at Rosebeers. We had 5 acres and basically it was all focused on food production. So we had sheep, pigs, ducks, chooks. We even had a goat, although I don't think we milked it. We may have tried to. It was a bit of a wild goat. It was mainly just there for the blackberries, to keep the blackberries down. Dogs and cats, and plus whatever stray or injured animal my brother used to bring home. We used to look after and nurse a lot of animals over the years as well. We also grew massive amount of fruit and vegetables, so nothing went to waste. We shared it with all the neighbours, particularly the elderly people along the drive, and what wasn't eaten fresh was preserved. So good old Fowler Vicola, we certainly used it a lot when I was growing up. Mum had us also detoxing as teenagers, so I can remember we spent a week on grapes just to give our organs a rest. So she was very proactive in that regard, and probably a little bit ahead of her time. In 1981 I studied as an esthetician, and our anatomy and physiology was done by a nurse educator, and she introduced me to Dr. Bernard Jensen, who was a pioneer in holistic health. So I studied sort of through his books and his philosophies, and it was all about acid and alkaline and food combining, which was quite interesting. In 1984 I studied as a clinical nutritionist, because it was 3 years into working on people and dealing with skin, and I had worked out that just working topically wasn't going to work properly, that I actually needed to work internally as well. And that was mainly from one particular client, and I have seen her around town since, which is lovely. She had acne, and it didn't matter what I did to her, we could not seem to bring it under control. So I went more internally to work with that. I've continued to study all the way through, including I did sports nutrition at uni. I had another influencer who was Don Tolman. I don't know if you've heard of Don Tolman. He's got some amazing books out. He breaks them all down. Let's have a look. So certain foods for the immune system, certain foods for digestion, reproductive, so ones that will work specifically on various organs. He also has a pharmacist Dex reference with just 2 massive great big books on everything to do with health and well-being and nutrition and ancestral things. And he was the one that's coined the phrase, I don't know if you've seen it around, it certainly does the rounds of Facebook every now and again. Things like if you cut a carrot and you look at it, it's actually very similar to the eyes. So the carrot's the vitamin A, the beta carotenes, and everything's really good for the eyes. Avocado, if you cut it open, it looks like a pregnant woman. So avocados are very good during pregnancies. All that sort of stuff, which is amazing work. And the other huge influencer, which I will talk about in a minute, was Dr. Diademo. Now, as a nutritionist, I have a tendency to use myself as a guinea pig, and I've done that with everything. It's how you learn, is by trial and error and just seeing what works and what doesn't work. So I've pretty well tried all the diets that are out there. I'm not a fan of one diet suits all, because we're so individual, and we need to know what works well for us and what doesn't. So some of my takes I'm going to go through today. As I said, I'm going to unpack this a little bit more each day, but we need to eat a variety of colours. It's really important that we have the full colour spectrum, because foods will work specifically, and I'll probably put up a post as to what color foods work best with what body system, just so you can sort of start to look at, oh, you know, this part of my body's not working well, so I'm going to have more of that color food. So we need a good range of colors every day at every meal, and we also need a good blend of protein, carbs and fats every day at every meal. Garden fresh, if at all possible, grow your own. I can't stress that enough, because the way you look after the food, the way that you nurture your food, puts a beautiful amount of energy in it, so it's going to work so much better for you. Use local farmers, use what's in season, and it's way better than you can get from a supermarket. So also eat when you're hungry, not necessarily because it's supposed to be mealtime. I think I mentioned in one of my earlier videos that I've gone down to 2 meals a day, because I'm not as physical. We're not getting out and we're not doing as much. We are confined to our properties as much as possible. I do run between home and work, and that's about all I get to. But only eat when you feel you need to eat. Don't eat 3 meals a day if you don't feel like 3 meals a day. But when you do eat, you want the best nutrients to go in your body. If you're overweight and always hungry, usually in the majority of the time, it's because you're actually thirsty and you need water, not food. So try and have 1 or 2 glasses of water and you'll find your hunger goes away. If you're also overweight but you're eating like a sparrow, as in you're eating next to nothing, you've basically slowed your metabolism down so much that it's gone on holiday. It thinks you're starving it, so it actually holds on to every skerrick of food and nutrition that you give it, and it stores it in the fat cells because it thinks that it's in danger and it's going to need it further down the track. So you need a good balance of what you eat, but it needs to be working for you. The other thing is eat sitting down, and be in the mood to eat mindfully. Now, I've made a little note here that Mari's going to laugh at this, because when we were at work, one of my big habits was I'd be sitting or standing in the kitchen trying to eat my food as I'm running around and doing other bits and pieces. But I have slowed down. I make sure I eat and I'm actually enjoying my food throughout this period of time. And that's the best thing you can do. Sit at the table if you've got a family, and just make sure that you're very mindful of what you're eating, that you're not watching TV. Don't eat in front of a TV. Don't slouch in a couch. And for the simple reason is you cannot digest. If you're on a couch, you've got your spine in a C position, so your digestive system is all squashed up. You need to be sitting in a decent chair where you actually are sitting upright, and then your digestive organs can function properly. Use smaller plates to eat from, particularly as now we're not as mobile and probably not as physical. I certainly know I'm not. So if you want to do your 3 meals a day, just make them smaller. Now, to talk about the post I put up earlier, if you've answered more than 4 to that post, then your current diet may actually be affecting you, and it could be high in reactive lectin containing foods. Now, by that I mean is all our foods have lectins in it, but some are more tailored, I guess is the word I want, to a particular blood type. So with all the study I have done over the years, I've personally have come back to the blood type diet because it works best for me. And I've had a lot of people over the years who have had beautiful diets, and you look at it and you get them to do you a diet diary of a week or so, and you look at it and you think, oh, there's not much going on here, and this looks all really good. But sometimes you start to break it down and look exactly at what the food it is, and it's the choice of foods. Even if you have a whole arrangement of healthy foods, they may not all suit you from a genetic point of view, from your blood type point of view. So when you're eating foods that are toxic to you because you have various levels of foods that are beneficial, foods that are neutral, foods that are harmful for you. So when you're having a food that's harmful for you, it will actually cause inflammation in the body, and inflammation is the biggest precursor to any disease that you can have. So one thing you want to do is when you look at your food, you want to look at a way of reducing inflammation, and it's one of the reasons I keep coming back to this diet. Because it is individualized. It's individualized according to where you genetically come from. And as I said, I'll unpack that a lot more over the next few days. It's fascinating, it's really interesting, and it actually makes it very individualized for you. So your action step for today is to look at your kitchen, particularly your fridge and your pantry, and I want you to take a serious look at it and pull all the commercial processed foods out. Put them on the bench, have a look at it. Okay, ideally throw them away, but I know that's not going to happen. So what I want you to do is to eat all that first. Get it out of the house so that you can start to eat a little bit better in the long run. So that's all I have for today. As I said, I will post up which colors go with which body systems, and then we'll slowly unpack everything as we go over the next few days. Okay, have a wonderful evening. I'll catch you soon. Bye.